Okay, I'm Lisa Gohan. I'm a senior lecturer in drama, programme leader for dance, and I'm the student engagement champion for the School of Fine and Performing Arts. This is Alice Brown. Alice is a level 2 student who is also our school rep, and mighty marvellous she is at it too. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about, and I want to leave plenty of time for questions as well, because I think that some of what I'm going to say will open up some questions. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about a project that we undertook in the school. It was then the School of Performing Arts, so at the time it just embodied dance and drama. We now have 4 programmes in our school: dance, drama, fashion and fine art, and that's happened over the summer. So some of what we arrived at will actually may be subject to some further changes. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about, I'm going to chuck in some theory actually, about why we might want to consider what is important about the first year provision. And I came across this article actually, and this wasn't before we did this project, this was actually after we did the project. So I think this is something that people are thinking about across the sector actually, about the importance of first year provision. And it's not just about retention rates. While that is obviously a driver, as it says there, to improving student experiences, it shouldn't be, retaining students shouldn't be about the main focus. And Bryson and Han suggest that student engagement involves a dynamic interaction between the student and their learning environment. It's also important, I think, what we usually in our school call the first year is we call it the foundation year. So important ways in which, as it says there, they're thinking and acting about the world. Because as we all know, the leap from A-level or college to university is a huge one. And I often say to students when they come to me and they say, well, I'm feeling that, I feel like I'm in a strange world. And I say, well, yes, you will do, because you are. Because you've made this, it's like walking through the TARDIS in Doctor Who, and coming out in this really strange world, and there's so much going on. So it's about finding a first year model that works, that allows them to settle into those ways of thinking about the world. I often hear students say, well, my first year doesn't count, because it doesn't count towards their degree classification. So I will say, well, actually, you may not think it counts, but it does count. In fact, in some ways, if we're thinking about engaging, it counts more. Because we've got to get them right from the very start, get them empowered and feeling engaged and taking ownership of their course. Is there evaluation evidence that first year curriculum design has been used to engage or empower students and is effective in achieving its goals? I'll come back to that one when I talk about how we gathered the data from our students in order to feed into the group, which was made up of staff and students in terms of this design. Students in our school are involved in processes throughout the school, not just designing first year, in terms of subject boards and the work that we do. Student consultation is at the heart of everything that we do. Of course. What do we need? So our terms of reference. So what we needed to do was to research the effectiveness of our present first year curriculum, develop how we were going to do that in terms of a work plan, to develop some proposals for some alternative models. We needed, of course, to consider quality and standards in terms of these proposals and how they were going to work, and to meet to consider. And then to produce options for us to consider with our colleagues in the programme team, with our school and with our head of school as well. So that was our terms of reference. So we formulated this working group last October. We were due to report our findings in April. This time frame slipped a little bit, but that's why I put it up there, because we're going to be honest about that. Yeah, we found there was a little bit more that we needed to do. So the time frame slipped a little bit, but we have got a model to show you. So the first thing we did was to look at other models of HE, first year provision. That's the first thing we did, both in the UK and also in the USA and Australia. And we looked at provision across mainly drama, although the dance course was involved as well with us, about whether those models could be mapped, or some of those models could be mapped onto the way we operated in our performing arts department. And some of them we found to be more useful than others, in particular the Columbia model we found. And actually it's interesting given what's happened to our school now, because now we are a school of fine and performing arts. We're quite unusual in the UK, but actually the model by which we operate has become more like a North American model. And we found the Columbia model focused on all first years undertaking the same models, this promotion of intellectual understanding, that there was more of a focus on transferable skills, and it was based around one major project model, which included study skills and critical thinking, which were then feeding into that one major project. Okay? And so we were interested in that model. However, we weren't just going to impose that on the student body without asking them what they thought first. So we also had some discussions within our group, within the staff and student. And the students actually came up with a couple of these. Discipline was one, wasn't it, that you felt needed to be embedded at level 1 in terms of leading to a change in attitude. Of course, not all students are undisciplined, but about discipline of skills, about learning about their discipline, making sure they were understanding what that meant in terms of their, here's another student who was involved in this project. So what discipline in practice? So for us in the performing arts, that's things like understanding rehearsal etiquette, learning lines, turning up on time, making sure you're ready physically and intellectually to engage with your performance. That quite often there are those over here who are feeling I want more, and there are those over this side, and notice I'm not doing a hierarchical thing. There are those over this side who are going, I don't know what's going on, I really don't understand, and this leap is really too big for me to make. So that was a consideration for our model as well. So a model that led to parity and a feeling of empowerment for all. And I've come up with a cheesy phrase. This is my cheesy phrase. I haven't quite bottomed this out yet. That we are all existing in the kingdom of yes. Okay, so this is what we're going to call it now. It's the kingdom of yes, where everybody feels empowered and able to approach their discipline confidently. The kingdom of mess. The kingdom of mess. Oh, she's recording. Great. The kingdom of yes does not mean we are going to give the student body everything that they want, because we can't possibly do that. But it's about us all, both staff and students, in collaboration, feeling that we can move forward positively, saying yes together. Yeah? Good. There's Alice again, look. What we did then was we conducted a survey of all levels. Not just the current first years, but second years and third years as well. And we wanted to make sure that this was their opportunity for individual reflection, not just a tick box. Do you like the first year? Yes, no, don't know. You know, it wasn't going to be that. So we set about creating a survey which gave them space to reflect on how they felt about their first year.
From a student perspective, like the tick box, and we all had first-hand experience of students at the end of a seminar who, when we handed these feedback forms, yeah, right, just want to get out of here now, finished. The house was over, tick, 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 and not taking it seriously and understanding where that feedback is going. And we felt that by reflecting on the feedback forms we used already, changing them slightly and altering them so that we had sort of boxes and paragraphs and direct questions for student experience, it gave individuals a chance to express how they experienced their first year at university and find a bit more information rather than just, yeah, excellent, fine, module was fine, didn't have any problems. That wasn't the feedback we wanted. We wanted to get more specific.
Yeah, that's right. These are the questions that we asked. Why did you enrol in the degree? Have your perceptions changed or developed? How do you think a degree will affect your future? What is the biggest difference between your further education study and your study in the first year? And we asked them to consider in light of the background that they came from, because that gave us some really interesting information. What was the greatest academic challenge you faced in your first semester? How do you balance between the practical and academic aspects of the programme? And what is and then just to give some general views of the first year. And also, I would just say, when I was putting this presentation together for today, I revisited the survey forms, and it occurred to me there's actually a lot of information on those survey forms that we might be able to use in other ways. So it was quite a useful exercise, not just for this, but I think there's other data that we can use in terms of careers and employability. So I'm thinking about revisiting that. Some of the issues raised not only on the forms but by the students who were involved in the project, some issues were this notion of commodification of education affecting the student experience or students' views of the course, how to support those students who need extra help, which I've already said, whilst at the same time ensuring more able students don't become disengaged. We talked a lot about managing expectations as well, about questions raised about expectations set on open days and in induction weeks. We do here at Lincoln something called the New Starter Survey, and so we used some data from that as well. And in actual fact, the data from that, this is a side issue not to do with this, informed the way we structured our induction week this week. So we took that data and we looked at it, and then we reconfigured our induction week, which of course is all part of the first year experience. And managing expectations around careers and employability. Just this very week, a first year student made an appointment to speak with me because they were wondering, well, what am I going to do when I leave the university? And she said, you probably think I'm silly because it's only week 4 and I'm already asking you about my career. And I said, I don't think you're silly at all. I think that's great that you're already thinking ahead and that you know, thinking about what this degree is going to do for you and where that's going to go. So the students study 3 modules per semester, 2 large 30 credits and then 2 lots of 15 credits. Again, some of these I would consider to be skills-based sessions that would work specifically for performing arts students, so improvising and devising, of course study skills for drama, which is, you know, academic writing skills. Quickly, but on the previous model you'll see that we have a module at level 1 called Modern European Drama. And actually some of the students felt that, did you not say it would be better at level 2 than I think? Yeah, so kind of those kinds of discussions. What do we consider to be key academic outputs, and what are the transferable skills we want to weave into the model? What are our delivery methods and our assessment methods? So having done all that survey work, and we surveyed the students we have a feedback week at the beginning of each semester, where each academic tutor sits down with their academic tutees and reviews the results and feedback from the previous semester, and then helps the students to come up with a plan of where we will go next for the coming semester. So we did the survey then, so that we could get a good return rate. And this is what we came. This is where we ended up. Just to talk you through our thinking from all of that material, it ended up being divided, and obviously this is not perfect. We need to work on this a little bit more. So we felt that we needed a skills strand that ran all the way through the semester A. So the fundamental skills that students need: writing of essays, citation, referencing, all of those things. And for us, training, technique and ensemble, so the fundamentals of performance skills that they need: improvising skills, devising skills, breathing and vocal work, how to, some physical work about connecting voice and physicality, all of those kinds of performance skills that students need. We then felt that this would then move into a period of research. So the skills come first, and then we apply those skills to the research strand. So this top box here, we might want to change the name, is about how we construct the world, how do we see the world, and how does that feed into any kind of performance that we're making, because we don't just do it in a vacuum. And all the time helping students to understand, even though it looks divided, how theory and practice fit together. And in the same way, that skills strand then moves into some kind of generating of material and improvisation skills, and we start to think about the process of making. So it's the process of thinking, I guess, about the world and about how that thinking then moves into our practice. And then finally, we this is where most of the assessment would happen if we were to go with this model, which is about applying the theory in an academic written context, and then a performance here. What we do at the moment is that students perform at the end of both semesters. So here we've got a module which we've called Reading Performance, which does exist on our old model, but at the moment that comes at the end of semester A, and I think some of the first years find that quite daunting and a little bewildering to suddenly find in week 1, in 8 weeks' time, you're going to be performing. So we felt that a longer lead in this process for us, and listening to what the students said on the survey, and so that's the model we came up with.
But it's also the understanding from a student perspective, not just putting on a performance, but how the theory relates. So you're spending the whole semester trying to do both in the workshops and the seminars, and students may be struggling with the reading anyway, depending on sort of backgrounds come from, or this year they've set up reading groups for the modules we have at the moment in semester A, which are really positive and people are really enjoying them. Because the amount of theory they're expected to understand alongside building a performance, why we're building this performance in a certain way that may be very abstract, may not have coherent scenes, it may not be as simple as that, it may be quite an abstract performance that students have never done before, and all seem a bit, why are we doing this? This doesn't seem to relate to what I'm reading about, I don't understand the reading. So we felt this module was a process throughout the whole year. You become able by the end of the year to understand why I'm performing this, not just the scale of it, but also why am I doing this, what's the theory behind it.
Yeah, and I think you said something very interesting in the meeting, the last meeting we had, Alice, when you said, not to put words in your mouth, but I do just remember what you said. You said, at the end of this level, I would feel more confident going into the second year and approaching the more advanced performance practice that they're engaged in the second year with a more solid set of skills. One thing that happens after we had started this process, we had a periodic academic review, which also meant that we had some recommendations to take from that. So from that, we're making some minor modifications to the drama programme, but we've consulted with the head of school, and we're continuing to, we're looking at the modules and how we've structured them on the alternative model, and the head of school actually said to me yesterday, it might be interesting, even though we're thinking slightly longer term, whether we can get some of these in immediately. And then thinking about the other levels, about level 2 and about level 3, that's what I meant by other models, not devising more. And I'd like to, as I say, revisit the survey in terms of careers and employability, and maybe extrapolate some more information from that. I just want to finish on the words of a student who said, "It's opened my eyes to other possibilities," and we are keen for the possibilities to be endless. And that's it. Thank you.